As you can see, I built this shell upside down as I do most of my shells. I put the fused end disc in first so that the fuse is sticking up into the inside of the shell. I put a centre tube on the inside of this spolette filled with black match, and it's about 2.5 inches long, 3 inches long, and it just brings the fire nicely to the centre point inside the shell. The first thing I'm going to do is just put a little bit of Polvarone inside the casing. It doesn't need a lot, just about 1/8 of an inch thick. And this is just to give the insert shells a nice bed to sit on. They're not exactly flat on the bottom, and if you put them in directly up against the end disc, they don't sit very well. So I put a little bit of Polvarone in there, and then I put each insert shell in with the long piece of cross-match fuse just pointing towards the centre. It actually lines up directly with the end of the centre tube. And just push them all down so they're embedded in the bed of Polvarone beneath them. Okay, now they're all in place. The cross-match fuses are all pointing in towards the centre where the centre tube is. And now they're fairly snug, but I want to get them absolutely wedged in rigidly, so I just use some little wooden wedges here and push them down. That one's gone in really easily. They're tapered on the end so they can get a start. One on the opposite side, and that's gone in really easily. And that one's tight. If I choose one about 1/8 of an 1/16 of an inch, like that one. Okay, that's very tight. Okay, they're nice and tight, they're not going to drop out. Now just get rid of the Polvarone that's sitting in the centre there. Just push them all down again, make sure they're firmly up against the end of the end disc. Okay, now I need to fill all these spaces here. Just move my wedges out a little bit so they don't obstruct the space at the back. Okay, I want to fill all these spaces here now, all down between the shells and the shell wall. Now all I do is just tip a load of Polvarone in there, and as I tip it in, I turn the shell, filling each of the gaps there. And then just give it a pat around the outside to knock it down a bit. And then I use a dowel and ram it. You want to ram all of these spaces tight. Okay, that's about half full. So just tip a load more in there. Same thing, just rotate it as you tip it in. Ram it again. And just have a feel round. It should feel really solid. It should feel round once you rammed it. I've got another 1/4, 3/8 of an inch to go. Some people use sawdust to ram these spaces. I don't really like using sawdust. I find it more difficult to compact, and also I suspect that sometimes, I don't know whether it's the kind of wood or maybe the sawdust isn't 100% dry, but I've seen a lot of glowing embers come down when I've used sawdust to pack spaces in between shells, so now I prefer to use Polvarone. Just a little bit more, we're nearly up to the edge of the shell wall now. This Polvarone's been granulated to 2FA size. Okay, now I just tip out the contents. I've got the centre areas all filled up with Polvarone. Just get rid of that, tip it back into my tub. Okay, and you can see the gaps between the shells are well packed now. It's very, very hard. It's like concrete around the outside there. If you run your hand around it, turn the shell in the palm of your hand, you can feel it's not 100% circular, but by the time you've got your spiking on there and everything's pulled into place, it'll be perfectly round again. Okay, now I drop my canale inside. This is a copper canale. It's 1.5 inch diameter. Just pop it right down, have it sit on the end disc. And now I want to pack the space here between the shell and the canale, and I want to just cover the tops of the insert shells just to the level where the cross match comes out of the time fuse. And again, just ram it down these spaces between the canal and the shell. Perhaps I want a smaller rammer than that. I'll be back. Try and pack it equally so your canal doesn't end up going too far to one side. Okay, that's nice and tight. The space between the canal and the shells is packed. The spaces between the shells and the case wall are packed. And now I just want to tip a little bit more Polverone in here, a bit more rough powder, just to cover over the cross match on the fuses. It's putting about a 1/4 inch, 3/8 of an inch layer above the shells themselves. Okay, that'll do. Just tamp it a little. I don't want to batter the tops of the time fuses. Okay, and now you can see I've got a liner in here. I've got 2 turns of chipboard liner, and now I'm going to fill up to the top of the liner with these blue Shimizu, 2 handfuls of blue, a handful of glitter, and now just give it a tamp. A little bit of Polverone in there, just to fill the spaces up. They're quite small, these cut stars, so in fact they're very small for a 6-inch shell, but they pack nicely. More blue, more glitter. A little more rough powder. I'll just find a bigger tamping stick. It's a better size. Give it a squeeze. I've got a soft spot round here, so I want to just little bit better around there. If you're using chlorate stars, don't be whacking on it this hard. The friction of two of them rubbing together when you're belting them like this could just set them off, and this could be pretty nasty going up in your face. Finish off the glitter. More blue. Okay, I'm within an 1/8 of an inch of the top of the liner now. You notice I haven't put a paper sleeve around the canal this time. The stars are that small and it's surrounded by rough powder at the bottom. The burst charge should stay in the centre of there, no problem. Okay, I've got some burst, which I'm just using 2FA. Then I like to drop a few strands of black match down into the canal. Whether it does any good or not, I don't know, but it can't do any harm, and it should just pass the fire down the core a little bit quicker. Okay, I'm just a touch, a little bit more. A bit more. Okay, I'm about 1/2 inch over the top of the level of the stars here now. Now as I withdraw it, just wriggle it and pull it upwards, and you can put something inside the canal to